Okay, so I've updated the photos. It's it's shaping up pretty well. This one includes a major um, cleanup on Hollywood and Elgato's graphics, and the other milestone is that even though it was a huge, tedious pain in the ass, I went through and hooked up all of the palette variations for all the characters' portraits. They were only partially done before, and it was a big pain in the ass because like most of the characters didn't actually have palettes set up. See, like for example, like look at Hollywood. See, like when I hit Hollywood now, it actually you can see his clothing is red because it's his Molotov variation. Yeah, if you look at the original game, Hollywood always has like the same kind of beige palette for his portrait. So yeah, and as you can see here, the characters are much more lively now. They're doing a lot more of their special moves. A lot of enemy behaviors have been hooked up. Belger has his midair crossbow shot, and just all kinds of moves have been hooked up there. So it is getting pretty close. I still have a bit more to do, but yeah, it's it's coming along pretty nicely. Yeah, basically, I mean, I still am aiming, for by the end of the year, to take because and I think it's doable. Um, but this is just kind of like a checkpoint release, just to kind of get out, what I have so far in case I get hit by a bus or something. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go into the minutia of all of the palette stuff, but just suffice to say, um, Hollywood and Elgato were actually really fucked up. The original sprites actually had tons of problems. Like there were so many cases of where just in certain frames they like they were just like random pixels that appeared and disappeared. It was just a mess, and so that's all been cleaned up. Um, Actually, even like Abigail, um, there was some issues there where I like when compositing Abigail's sprites, I included his shoes into it. So you'll notice that like his shoes basically always remain the same color. Um, and actually, see this version of it right now. There's I think I still might have to fix a couple of things there, but yeah, like it was bothering me that his shoes like changed color depending on which palette you had selected there. So in any case, that's that's Final Fight stuff. But I actually wanted to talk about something else, um, and it has nothing to do with video games. It's just kind of just something that's just kind of been you know irritating me over time, and I just wanted to just kind of articulate my thoughts on that. But because this is basically prompted by I saw some stupid video from some guy who does like television reviews, and he was just repeating the same line of shit that you always hear people say, where they say, oh, um, high frame rate movies are terrible. It always looks awful. It looks like a soap opera. Um, Movies should be 24 frames a second forever. Oh my god, high frame rate is the worst thing that's ever happened. And and I just want to just really just kind of harp on how stupid that sentiment is. Like how primitive and backward thinking that is. I mean, basically, I mean, really old movies, like silent movies, some of them were 16 frames a second. And if you watch those movies, obviously, to a modern audience, they look like dog shit because they're just incredibly choppy. And 24 frames a second looks better. Yet for some reason, everybody just automatically assumes that high frame rate movies are terrible because they saw some shitty, motion interpolation, uh, you know, TV show or something like that with a cheap television, and they just assume that that's just all there is to that. And like the Peter Jackson Hobbit movies, I think, were 48 frames a second, and they look terrible. And so people just go like, oh well, yeah, well, high frame rate is just awful. Like, it's always going to be awful, and movies should be shitty and choppy until the end of time. Um, but yeah, but basically, the truth about it is the real reason that high frame rate movies aren't a thing is because they're more expensive to make, and it raises the standards for the quality of everything in your movie. And ultimately, almost every decision that humans make is done because of money. And if you're public, if your audience is so stupid that they can't even see the difference between 60 frames a second and 30 frames a second, people aren't going to spend way more money making movies to actually make things look good at a high frame rate. Because if you really think about it, I mean, if you look at movies just from the beginning, shitty motion blur that you get from 24 frames a second has been covering up so much low quality cheap dog shit over time. And the truth is, you can't. There's certain types of things that you can't even do in live action movies because of the frame rate. I mean, you can't really have action, or camera movement that's actually fast, because if you do, it just becomes a blurry mess, and you get a headache looking at it. There's just all kinds of stuff that you can't even do with low frame rate. And all the people who say like it looks terrible, well, it's like, yeah, like if the thing that you're filming looks like shit, if you capture it with more fidelity, yeah, it's going to be more obvious that the thing that you were filming looked like shit. But, and so the whole argument to me is just so mind blowing, because basically this is what people are saying. Because the quality of our content is dog shit, the manner by which we record it should also be dog shit. And it's just insect brained, just so stupid. I mean, what we should be doing is we should be raising the quality of the content. We shouldn't be stagnating on the quality of our recording of the content. And that's basically what's happening. Like I said, I mean, just makeup, sets, special effects, they all have to look way better at high frame rate, because it isn't all turning into blurry, smeary shit whenever the camera moves an inch. And that's just the reality of it. Like I said, so far, these high frame rate movies look like shit because they basically use the same quality of production, when more than doubling the frame rate, almost tripling it, really. And that's pretty much what's going on. And so, and really, I'll tell you this too. People are completely oblivious to their own biases. Okay, they're just completely unaware. I mean, you have all these fuckers who've been watching 24 frames a second movies for their entire lives, and they assume just because they're used to something that it's right. But that isn't the case at all. I mean, I'm saying, like, you could empirically, definitively prove this. Like if you actually, raised a kid and showed that kid only high frame rate movies, his entire life, and ones that were actually well done. Not just shitty motion interpolation, not just inserting fake frames. I'm talking about like real high frame rate movies. And then when the kid turned 18 or something, you showed him a 24 frames a second movie for the first time, they would think that it looked like fucking shit. They'd be like, "Oh my god, this is so blurry and choppy. Why does this look like dog shit?" But people, just because they're just used to garbage, they just fucking assume that that the problem is actually the frame rate when the problem is actually really the low quality of the content. There's actually like a very good analog to the high frame rate issue in video games, where when you look at video games and you look at the resolution, you can see how the quality or the demands of the artwork scale with the quality of the rendering. So for example, if you're making an Atari 2600 game, the resolution is so fucking low that a programmer can just draw stick figures and that's good enough for the graphics. But if you're making a PlayStation 5 game, you actually need artists and 3D modelers and materials guys and lighting experts and color theory people, blah 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 blah. You need all that stuff because the fidelity is so much higher that the content has to be that much better to take advantage of it. I mean, it's that simple. It's the same exact thing with movies. As you raise the frame rate, as you raise the resolution, the quality of the content has to increase, or the higher fidelity recording of the content is going to reveal how fucking shitty it looks. It isn't complicated. And yet we have these morons out there actually criticizing objectively better technology because they're too fucking reptile-brained to put two and two together. It's just amazing, man. It's just fucking amazing. And the thing is, I think the industry just doesn't care because they just figure, well, like I said, consumers are so fucking stupid. They'll just keep paying, increasingly more money for the same shitty old technology. Like they're so stupid they don't even demand higher quality. It's why we have cocksuckers listening to Spotify. Instead of actually like wanting DVD audio or Blu-ray audio music, for example. Like I said, nobody cares about quality. Nobody gives a shit about quality anymore. Everything can just be fucking dog shit, and it's fine. So yeah, so I just wanted to record my feelings on that because there are just so many idiots that just like I said, I don't think they truly understand how fucking stupid they are. Like how just insect-brained and closed-minded they are. Like they actually think that higher frame rates are bad. It's the dumbest thing in the fucking world. I remember, I think it was the last time I went to see a movie, actually. And I just remember thinking, like, Jesus, this it's so blurry. Like, the screen was so big and it was so in your face. And every time the camera moved, it was just so smeary and blurry. And I honestly, like, I couldn't even handle it. It wasn't a pleasant experience. It was just fucking disgusting. Like, I want clear, high-quality, content. And the final thing I'll say that's only tangentially related to this is I'm really sick of assholes calling movies films. Like most movies aren't even made with film anymore. Calling movies films in almost 2022. It's like calling video games cartridges. Okay, it's fucking stupid. You wouldn't call a modern video game a cartridge, but for some reason we're calling modern movies fucking films. Like, no, actually, it's really stupid to name something after its medium, its storage medium. It's like really fucking stupid. And that is just a pet peeve of mine because it usually comes from like the same kind of just clueless douchebags who will say, oh my god, high frame rate is it looks so terrible just because these old shitty 70-year-old movies don't look good when you interpolate frames. Oh wow, it's really deep. It does. I know it's the least important thing in the world, but it pisses me off when somebody calls a movie a film. It's weird. It's really strange. And frankly, like now just to get just completely random, I don't even really like the term video game because I feel like video game doesn't really capture all of the things that people really think about when they think about games. I mean, like, just off the top of my head, I don't have a better term for it yet. But I'm just thinking about it. I mean, you could totally make a game that didn't even have graphics and everything was done through audio. Like you could make a game where it just like was playing white noise or something, and as you moved the analog stick or directional pad around, the sound would change, so you could tell if you were getting like closer or farther from something, and other sound effects can indicate that like you have to press certain buttons. My point is, what we think of as a video game doesn't necessarily even have to have video. And that's why I think that like video game is actually kind of a stupid term. I don't think I think that it actually kind of restricts imagination, because like I said, you don't even really have that many people just thinking like, I could make a game that doesn't even have graphics. I could make a game that's just all just sound and inputs. But like I said, I don't know. People are pretty fucking stupid. They don't really think about anything. Yeah, like I said, like video game kind of sounds catchy. We're used to saying it, but I don't know. Like electronic game or something is probably actually more accurate in a lot of ways. Because that's my whole point. Like if you made that game, if you made the game that had no graphics and used audio for everything, it would still be classified as a video game. I guess that's my point. That's why I think that like video game is a stupid way to describe these things, because it really isn't necessarily about video. Maybe it is most of the time, but it doesn't have to be. All right, so that's my little treatise on high frame rate movies. And Merry Christmas. Enjoy Final Fight.